Hello everybody and welcome back to Conor here with your Birmingham City preview. Leeds United facing the Blues at Ellen Road this weekend. So, what do I think? I think it is time for Leeds United to bounce back with a vengeance, really. I think it's been sort of really stuttering these past 5 games. Our sort of form guide isn't amazing. But can we bounce back? Of course we can. Listen, we're Leeds United, we play wonderful football, we're a possession-based team, which means that the other team are always going to struggle against us because they have to get the ball. And I think we're looking well-oiled this season. There are a few stipulations, which I'm going to get onto in a bit about this season for me, but listen, it's been a good recovery period for Leeds. Down at obviously the result down at Millwall wasn't favourable. Went down there. I didn't think we started the game on the front foot, which sort of allowed Millwall into it. Which obviously, you know, the event happened where the referee is actually coincidentally not refereeing this weekend, which is normally an indication that the referee sort of body have turned around and said, "Look, you're crap. You're having a week off." But listen, I didn't think we started the game that well, but it is all about starting the game well. And I know it sounds so simple, but starting games with authority, with pace, with pragmatism, it's always the way forward. It's always the way you're going to win a game because, letting a team into it has always been the downfall of this Marcelo Bielsa's Leeds United side. We need to start on the front foot. And when we start on the front foot, teams really struggle to contain us. So, I mean, what's been going on, really? The one thing, the lads going to put their videos out as well, their previews. I believe it's going to be tomorrow. But the one thing I want to focus on during this is going to be the Eddie and Nketiah situation. I've already made a video on it. You know my thoughts. But last night was the under-21s played against Austria, won the game 5-1, and he was the man of the match. And it's another game for England where he scored. He obviously scored in the last game in an away game, a penalty, which just adds to his portfolio of things the kid can do. And the reason I wanted to touch on Eddie is because he's come out today and said obviously he's disappointed with being on the bench. I'm obviously paraphrasing here, guys, but he's disappointed with being on the bench, and he feels he's good enough for this Leeds United side, and I think we all agree with that. I'd be so interested to see if he looks at sort of social media, YouTube, podcasts, the radio. I'd be interested to see if he knows what the Leeds fans' thoughts are. I'm sure they all do. They're all young, impressionable lads, but I'd be so interested to see if he knows that and if he's sort of fed off that as well. And it's a massive talking point this weekend. I would be amazed if he drops Bamford. I just don't think he'll do it. I think he sees Eddie as his second striker. And it was Phil Hay put an excellent tweet out earlier and said, there is the loyalty from Bielsa. Obviously, I'm paraphrasing again to Bamford. There is the loyalty. There's the hard work, especially in the West Brom game. But there's going to have to be a time where you're going to have to forsake loyalty for goals. Because is this going to happen throughout the entire season? Is Eddie just going to be on the bench? Are we going to get past January with Eddie still in the Leeds United setup? I think, a lot of people are sort of saying that it's going to happen, we've secured his services for the whole season, but I'm still not 100% convinced on that. I think with true reasoning and logic, you can put a case forward for a championship club to be in Arsenal's ear about Nketiah coming back and starting for them week in, week out, because there is a clause in that contract for him to be recalled. So I still think, dependent on what happens up until that January period, that can be exercised. And we'll have to see. There might be a team who was very close to Leeds in the presentation, when we beat the 32 other teams to Eddie's signature. There might have been a team that was very close who were in Arsenal's ear and saying, look, Leeds have got him, but we were close to them in the presentation. You gave us our feedback, and guess what? This is the advantage. From January onwards, we can play him week in, week out. I'm not on board with this argument as well that he's come to a good championship side where he's coming off the bench. There were periods in the Premier League last year where Eddie was coming off the bench. The League Cup games, he started a couple of League Cup games, obviously came on in the game versus Norwich where he knocked Norwich out by himself. So I do feel he might not have got as regular game time as maybe he does at Leeds United at Arsenal, but he probably would still, let's say if they have striker injuries and stuff like that, Lacazette, Aubameyang, still be featuring off the bench for Arsenal this year. I do think there would have been more from that. More of that from Eddie Nketiah in an Arsenal shirt. So what advantage is he getting at this moment in time would be my question. And I think on the interview, there's body language experts. I'd be very interested to see what they thought of, Eddie Nketiah's just general demeanour, because there is the football demeanour of just giving standardised answers to questions, but his whole demeanour seemed quite... I don't know, he was quite assertive in what he was saying. Look, I am that good. I do want to play football week in, week out, and I'm going to try my hardest too. And you can see there's a clear message there that he wants to be starting week in, week out. Now, the reason I'm talking about Eddie so much is because, we're coming up against Birmingham side, Harley Dean at the back, Mark Roberts, very, very slow. Good solid defenders. I like them at the back, and it's going to be interesting to see whether or not we can implement a bit of pace there. The reason I'm sort of bringing this up is because I've spoken endlessly about starting Nketiah, but this is the first time we've heard anything from him really, and I just found it very, very interesting how he came out and actually said that, there's a lot of footballers who can avoid the question. Eddie came out publicly and said, X, Y and Z about the situation. Now, what do I think will happen? I think Bamford will start. I think the only way Eddie is getting into this side is if there's a suspension or an injury. Do I think that's right? I don't think that's right, no. I think it's going to start being a case of we're just sort of a club who, not a club, I mean that's a massive sweeping statement, but we're going to be a team who just sort of gives players chance after chance. Obviously, my thoughts on Harrison. I don't think Harrison should be anywhere near that starting 11 ahead of Costa. And, the Bamford, Bamford's never going to be a prolific striker. You talk to any Norwich, any Derby fan, even a Chelsea fan who I've spoken to, a lad called Louis about that. And, he said, in his years at Chelsea, he was never, ever going to be that striker. And that's essentially why they let him go, because he was never going to be that striker. And that's what Chelsea wanted to blood into Bamford. So it is one of those things where what are we sort of looking at? His hold-up play's good. His physicality has improved a lot. I love Bamford. I think he's a cracking player. Bielsa's never going to play a two, so there's no point in having that discussion. So it's either Eddie or Bamford. Who's scoring at the minute? Eddie. Who's not scoring at the minute? Bamford. And I don't really know. A lot of you were asking me to give. You're asking me to give my thoughts in this video about that situation, and there's not much more I can say, guys, on it, because it's for a lot of fans it is a simple blueprint. But the chief and the editor of this squad, the absolute master and Marcelo Bielsa doesn't see that, and it is mildly, well, it's very, very frustrating. I just wonder how long we're going to go doing this. Is this going to be the next 3 or 4 months? Let's say if Bamford stays fully fit, in that season for Borough, he stayed fit for the majority of it when he banged in all those goals. So that's a good thing. Do I think he's a 20-25 goal a season striker? No, I don't. And just seeing Eddie's attributes as a striker, the sort of Ian Wright-esque attributes, I think he could be. As I've said, I think the impact could be similar to Tammy Abraham. But Birmingham, I know I've not spoken on Birmingham a lot, but I want to make these previews a little bit more Leeds focused. I used to talk about the opposition quite a lot. Decent side. I think they've weakened under Pep Clotet. I think Monk's organisation has gone out of the window. They brought a lot of Continentals in. Villalba is sort of my favourite so far. But listen, they've always got quality. They've always been a bit of a bogey side for Leeds. They've always done well at Ellen Road as well. The only real one I can think of that stands out is the 4-0 win. We beat them at home when we had McCormack and Smith. But it's going to be a really tough game. I do think we'll win the game, but I think it's going to be narrow again. I think when we talk about giving teams an absolute pasting, we've seen the combination of Costa and Nketiah in a couple of League Cup games. I'd love to give that a shot for 4 or 5 championship games, because they've clearly got a little bit of link up. They like to play in behind the striker. They're quick when the ball's over the top. If we start playing like that, Calvin starts switching the ball over the top, Costa running onto it, Eddie already in and behind the centre half, I think we'll get a lot of success. I think we continue to play this way, just in front of the defence, passing it around. It's just going to become very, very sort of, I think Birmingham are just going to put 10 behind the ball and hit us on the counter-attack potentially. So it just depends how Leeds set up. How do I think we'll set up? I think we'll set up the exact same as we did against Millwall. I would be stunned if there was any changes. There might be injuries, but I would be stunned. I really would be surprised. So let me know what you guys think anyway. I'm going to go with a 1-0 Leeds win, and goal scorer, I'm going to go with Click. Yeah, I'm going to go with the 1-0. I think it's just going to be narrow. I think they're just going to, defend and defend and defend. I think we'll just get the win. But yeah, I do think, not papering over the cracks, but I just think we all talk about blowing a team away. I think those two lads start. I'd love to see as well, a lot of people are talking about Costa and how he's not been effective. I'd love to see him start with Nketiah, just to see that partnership, to see if they feed off each other. I think, when we've seen that in the League Cup games, they've been very, very in tune with each other, very similar attributes, and it'd be very interesting to see them start together. Let me know what you think in the comment section below, guys. What do you think the score will be? Do you think, we do have a problem with the Nketiah-Bamford situation? Do you think he's ever going to start? Do you think we're ever going to see Eddie Nketiah, in a white shirt for the full 80, 90 minutes? He evidently wants it. Will we do it? Let me know what you think in the comment section below, guys. I'm going to go with the Leeds win this weekend. Come on, boys. And I'll see you in a bit.